time for a chit-chat with the DeadGamer.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time, once again, for the Andy and Rem Show, episode 152. And as you can tell from the title, and the thumbnail, and my snazzy little intro before the music, we have a guest. Brand new guest. We've never had him on before. Community legend, surrounded by shame. As I remove the thumbnail, and you will see. There he is. It's the DeadGamer. Hello there.
Hi, everybody. Shame is an understatement, for sure.
So we're definitely ready to roll here. Remington's blind is pre-closed before the show, so anyone who tuned in purely to see Remington tinker with his blinds, I'm afraid you've missed all the juicy stuff. Now, the DeadGamer. First of all, we should just point out he's not dead. He's right there. He is a gamer, though. However, DeadGamer is, of course, not your real name. If we looked at your driver's license, it would not say DeadGamer on it. This is actually Kirk, the DeadGamer. Hello there.
That's correct. That is correct, sir. So, just a quick thing, the DeadGamer thing was when I started my YouTube channel. I play a lot of old dead games, like Vor the Maelstrom, Starship Troopers, the miniature game. Even I considered Mordheim and those games dead because they weren't in production. So I figured, why not call my channel DeadGamer? I figured I'd be doing a lot of that kind of content. I haven't really done any of that content, but that's where DeadGamer came from. So
well, we've reached a point in history where there probably are more dead games than ongoing active games. So
very true.
True, Kurt. Look, I can't describe how much I'm thrilled to have you on this show because, you know, your channel is like an undiscovered gem. I think it's so underrated. Many more people should know about it. But I've been a fan of your work. It's just your whole vibe. You know, your hobby hangout there, just your honesty, just the chilled outness of your shows. Just I feel like you're my friend before I met you.
Nice. Well, dang, that's some serious accolades, and I appreciate it. I just have fun, man. I just get on here and, you know, I say what I feel, and you know, I'm just kind of chill person in general, I guess.
If you are an undiscovered like diamond in the rough of the YouTube community, though, then it's safe to say that you were spawned by this show.
Oh, I absolutely was. Yes. So I started my YouTube channel. I don't even know if you can see when a channel was started, but it was July of 2015. I had heard rumor that Warhammer Fantasy was going to round bases. I got excited about that. Did a little research. Your guys' channel popped up as the first thing on YouTube. So I went over there and I watched, I think, episode 1. I was there since the beginning. And I was like, these two are awesome. And they're super informative. And I just kind of fixated on you guys and, you know, started to make YouTube response videos to Vince Venturella back in the day. He was doing the Friday response videos. So that kind of broke my, you know, doing a video cherry, sort of, so to speak. And yeah, it was just it's just fun to do, you know. It's hard to do.
We were like on a pedestal there when you started as the #1 YouTube Age of Sigmar channel, and look how things have changed. Now it's just role reversal. It's like we've gone down the chart. You've gone up.
Just intimidated to watch you guys, right? Like they they were like on it, the train, and then you guys came kind of back, and everyone was just sort of like, well, if we watch them now, we're gonna be like, you know, oh, I was there before, it was cool. So now I think people are trying to play it cool,
I
and
got
they're
you.
just sort of they're all. I think people are gathering in mass like stadiums,
Yeah,
and they're just clicking it once so it shows as one view. But like
interesting.
5,000 or 20,000 people are actually seeing the show, but people don't want to admit that they're still huge fans because they want to be kind of like so cool they're not following the cool, you
I
know?
totally get you. Like in the world of music, there are certain bands that the general public don't know about, but all like the stars, all like, you know, the
Yep.
actors, the directors, the other, you know, musicians, they're the ones watching them. They're like musicians, if you like,
Yes.
you
You guys
know?
are very much that. I
I
actually
see.
think I saw a black and white flyer at a bar that was for one of your shows with Annie. And yeah, I didn't get to make it. I was at work, but yeah, I heard there was a riot afterwards. People
My
were
God.
excited. Yeah.
Well,
It's
look, me and Andy are so thrilled, and it may not show on Andy's face because you're dead gamer, he is deadpan. All right. But it's like we're all wondering, where the hell are you? Because it looks like you live in a giant Warhammer shop.
I do. It's more of a Warhammer warehouse. It's the West Coast Warhammer Warehouse Distribution Center. It's kind of where I live. And I also harbor all the made to order stuff. So like literally, you do your made to order. Games Workshop actually contacts me. And they're like, "Hey, could
Wow.
you fulfill all these made to order orders?" And then I go ahead and do that for them.
Is
Send
it,
that
is it
stuff off.
safe?
So what
Is it safe to say that you
is the
only actually
garage?
distribute all these things to your own hobby table?
Yeah, some could say that. I can't go on record as saying that.
So Kurt, where did it all begin? What got you into this like nerdy hobby, right? What got you into
It's
this?
the classic Hero Quest thing, right? Everyone got into it when they were kids. I was born in '78, so Hero Quest came out when I was 10, and my pops bought me that, and it just triggered this whole new level of like, I mean, I used to play Stratego with him and chess and all kinds of other games. And for Christmas, I wanted Hero Quest. I didn't know anything about anything else. Picked up Hero. I was a comic book fan though before that, so I was
Me too,
definitely
yeah.
into the world of like superheroes.
Marvel or
But
DC? Marvel or DC? Or something
as
else?
a younger kid, I was Marvel. I was Spider-Man all the way. So I was a huge Spider-Man fan. Later on, I became more like I'm more like the non-superheroes like Batman, Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man's got superpowers, obviously, but
Yeah.
he's not like I was never into like Superman or
Do you
you
like the
know
flawed vigilantes?
the who.
The flawed vigilantes, you know, people that are a little bit burnt in life, scarred, but
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yes.
flawed as in, you know, not it doesn't matter.
No. I like it.
Not flawed
And
as
that's
in they
another
get
thing.
punched and knocked down a lot by the villains.
Okay. Yeah. So Floored vigilantes. I got you. Sorry. Sometimes there's like a little bit of different like your guys' catchphrases, or I don't even know what the word is, but the lingo's a little different,
The
right? I'm
lingo,
West
yeah.
Coast. We're still
Ah,
surfer guys. I got 45 minutes to go surfing.
Do you still
wow.
Great White
say things
Shark.
are rad over there?
Totally tubular.
So Kurt, you don't live a nerdy life though, do you? Because you've got outside of hobby, you've got a very, you know, physically intense job, haven't you, as well? You're out there on the front line.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful. So I do the high voltage stuff. Actually, you guys, I don't know. I should have sent you that picture of me and White Dwarf, but it was me working on 500,000 volts, and I'm reading the White Dwarf, and the electricity shooting. Probably Google it while we're doing this.
Wow.
Maybe while we're doing something, I'll find it and I'll drop it into that thing so Andy can show it. But
That'd be amazing.
so yeah, I work on high voltage power lines all across California. I have gone out of state. I went to Katrina down in New Orleans when they had the natural disaster down there and the levee broke. I went to New York during the what was the other storm, the crazy one. I don't know. I move around a little bit, but mainly stay in California just because this is where my home is. I'm here.
So you fix problems, you fix situations where there's been a disaster.
Yeah. Yep. And
Wow.
and constantly power lines are coming down. Obviously, you guys have probably heard of all the craziness going on in California with the droughts and the fires and stuff.
Yeah.
So this has been a hard couple of years for California with all
So,
that.
so when you get back home, it's like this kind of shuts out all that pressure, all that stress, and you can
Yep.
escape into this other realm.
You can sit down and
It's
watch a classic episode of the Andy and Rem show and take your mind off all the craziness out there in the world.
you guys are on loop. You guys are just like looping 24/7. I just like constantly. I need Andy and Rem in my life. I don't know how I lived without you guys.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't know how I made it this far in life.
I don't know how
Well,
anyone did, to be honest. But speaking of other people, let's just have a quick look at who's in the audience tonight, who has made themselves known. We've got Mads Anderson, we've got Graham Ray, we've got Steve Evans, we've got Roshi. Anyone else who's tuned in right now, feel free to drop a comment in there. If you want to comment on that, not just a wall of shame, but an entire house of shame that we can see over there, then feel free. If you want to ask about that, any other comments, drop them in there and we'll refer to them regularly. Now, we are going to go through some of the new exciting stuff soon, but Mr. Kirk, so before we move on to all that, your home full of stuff.
Yes, sir.
What is the craziest thing you've got in there in terms of wargaming goodness?
In terms of single most expensive, or
Not necessarily expensive, but something that you just think, wow, how did someone get hold of that thing?
So when Mongoose Publishing, they did Starship Troopers. When they decided to stop doing Starship Troopers, they basically auctioned off all their green sculpts, their prototype ships, and a bunch of things, their molds. They auctioned off tons of stuff from their warehouse. And I was able to pick up the some of the skinnies, which were one of the races in Starship Troopers. The skinny cabal, which are like these super tall, creepy looking dudes with robes. So I have the actual green sculpts of them. I also have the original prototype dropship that they made, not the small one. I forgot the name of it now because it's been years since I played the game. But the bigger one that yeah. So I've got that, the original like plastic card one that the modeler made, and so I'd say those are like my most like jaw dropping. I've got a lot of weird, rare, like you guys were talking about, like old beastmen and old halflings and things. I've got a lot of that stuff too.
Wow.
Because I've just been. I was talking to my buddy. He came into town this past weekend, and you know, part of my hobby isn't necessarily like I'm not as big of a gamer as I am a like collecting. To me is part of the hobby. Having these things, and I know Andy, you've mentioned before, it's like, well, if you're holding on to something that someone else can use and build, then you know you should maybe get rid of it so someone else would enjoy it. Well, there is a joy for me just having it as a collector, right? So like I like a lot of rare stuff. I seek out things, but I'm also not just throwing money away. Like I'm not going to pay $15-20 for a single beast man. But I do go to a lot of like local game stores have flea markets once every quarter or once every half a year. And I'll go there, and like sometimes you'll have people just not really knowing what they're selling. And you know, you'll just go through and you'll find some rare 86, 89, 87, you know, GW figures, and that's kind of mainly what I collect. I do sometimes go outside of that and do, you know, Starship Troopers because I've always been a Starship Troopers fan. So that hit a thing with me. And the new Aliens board game or Aliens miniature game from Gale Force 9. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
so do you know
yeah,
when you see these like bargains, do you struggle to contain your excitement because
yes.
like
Oh god, dude, I get so excited. I go like I freak out, but you have to like keep your stuff in check, right? Because I grew up like we have a massive flea market. Do you guys have flea markets out there?
we call them car boot sales.
Car boot sales.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
basically This is probably 30 acres of land, and people. This is back in the 80s. It's massively. It's called the San Jose Flea Market, and it's massively shrunk over the years because they sold the property. Because property in the Bay Area is ridiculously expensive, so it's vastly shrunk. But it was this huge area, and every weekend, me and my parents would go down to the flea market, and it's all about the haggle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I learned from an early age how to like haggle, how to like be interested in something, but sort of convince the other person you're not so interested in it, and kind of do like the, well, I'm walking away, and then you kind of look at some other things and you walk back, and but you're always on the like your eagle eyes looking to make sure no one's going to come in and look at the thing you really want. So you just kind of, you got to play that, and all that, is strategy I learned as a young kid. So when I walk up on something and it's ridiculous, I just kind of play it cool, but I get like, my heart starts to go and it pumps really fast and I get sweaty and I'm like,
I mean, Kirk, do you know what we'd love to see is a video of you at the flea market, just looking at stuff and chatting.
We want to see that, and we also want to see you like pillaging through some of those boxes that you've got there, like going through
totally
ancient beastmen and all that kind of stuff. Like one box per video, like box of the week.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea for a show.
It looks like you've got a lot of stuff not yet opened, but then you've got stuff like packaged away as well.
I do have a lot of stuff not opened.
What's in the brown boxes there? What you got there, Kurt?
Behind my noggin?
Yes.
So over here is Death Guard and Nurgle Demon stuff. Right here is all my Gene Stewart cult stuff. Right behind all this Necromunda stuff is Lizardmen stuff. Let me see if I can do this.
Wow.
Right. And then earlier, I was showing Andy, I'm going to swing this around. This is like my...
Wow. You've actually got a system there, haven't you?
Oh, I'm very OCD. Like, I have to have everything labeled. Everything has to be... I can't... I live in chaotic organization. Like, it's chaos, but it's, to my brain, is completely organized. And,
so you love the hobby, you love collecting, but what about when it comes to painting? Because you've mentioned you do a little bit of gaming, but what about painting? Where on earth do you start when you've got just so much stuff yet to be built?
So as an adult, I haven't painted much. As a kid, I used to paint a lot, and my whole thing, and this was sort of, I guess this was the end game for my idea of collecting all this crap, was that I'd buy stuff on the cheap at flea markets. When I got to an age where I wanted to work less than I do, and I wanted to sort of relax and just have like, my income covered my living expenses, and that was about it. Because I mean, my goal in life is I'd like to be a guy who works at a coffee shop in the morning, serving people lattes and cappuccinos, and then at around 9 o'clock, I drive home and I just do hobby stuff, right?
That's
and
the dream, man.
It is. It really, truly is, you know? And my idea was, if I can amass enough stuff, then if I ever saw like a new set of like, what's that big fat dude on the palanquin for Slanesh, the new guy?
Oh, cool. Oh,
Glutos,
right? If I wanted him, I could be like, well, I'm gonna sell a couple of these rare figures on eBay, and that'll subsidize the cost of this new kit that I want, right? Or if I need to buy a bottle of paint or something, I could sell this Beastman and buy a bottle of paint. So it would basically be a hobby that would self-support itself,
Yeah.
And so my whole idea about painting and stuff, I mean, I want to paint more. I know that there's definitely a relaxing aspect of it. And it's just painting, especially in this environment where I'm still trying to get my garage back, and I'm fighting with the city over a bunch of permitting things. And until I have a proper place to like operate, it takes more time pulling paints out and setting stuff up, than when I actually throw some paint on. Then I got to put everything away because I have to go to bed and go back to work.
Now, we can see all this unpainted, unassembled, some of it not even opened at all, stuff behind you and surrounding you in your entire house. But you did have a large collection of finished stuff as well, didn't you? At one time. And there's a tragic story attached to a lot of that.
Yes, the reason I am in a house full of shame is because I used to have a garage full of shame, and my house was just a normal place I could bring ladies over, and they weren't like freaked out by me. you know?
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So I actually had a house or a garage fire about 4 years ago, and it's a huge insurance claim. I lost a bunch of stuff because, yeah, back in the day, I had painted. I was just a kid and I loved building and painting, and I didn't really care about mold lines, and I didn't really care if your eyes were properly placed, and
Yeah.
I just was a carefree hobbyist. Now I'm a little more jaded by looking at like the things online that intimidate me with how well they're painted. Sometimes it's like just unhealthy to even look online because it just
Kurt,
you
did
know.
anything survive the fire? Did the metal figures survive? Or did the
Um
plastic ones?
a good amount. I'd say about 60% of my Warhammer stuff got destroyed.
Wow.
Maybe 70%. Like most of it was destroyed. I had I know you guys don't do 40K a lot, but Gene Stealer Cult, which is one they brought him back. But Bob Oley was one of the big sculptors in the
Wow.
Gene Stealer Cult. And I had probably in second edition terms, I probably had about 15,000 points of Gene Stealer Cult,
Flipping heck.
which is now like stupid rare. And, two patriarchs on throne and all kinds of stuff. And, that stuff all melted away, which was hard. My second
Wow.
edition Tyranids and,
I don't know if you
um,
can see that, but that's you won't be able to see it very good. But
I look
that's a
like a dwarf.
that's a Bob Ollie dwarf
Yep. Yeah, buddy.
right there.
Love it. Yeah,
So
Bob Ollie is one of my faves.
I've never
And,
painted his figures though because he's got such a weird style of molding. It's I don't know. There's
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
his ogres have a ton of character too.
big time.
Like or the ogres, ogres, whatever you want to call them now. But yeah. So the house fire happened, and one of the reasons I have a lot of unbought or unopened stuff now is because when I went through my whole insurance process, I collect toys and comic books also. So it was a pretty big fire claim, and but I had collector's insurance, and I was able to recoup most of that. But what the way insurance companies work is you're paid a small amount of the money you lost. Then they expect you to go out and buy stuff and then bring them the receipt. So if you lost something for $100, right? They'll give you $10. Now if you go out and you buy it for $90, they'll give you another $80 because they gave you 10,
Oh man,
right?
that's like how you treat a child.
It, oh, insurance companies were I mean, I don't know how it is over the pond, but here it was a brutal learning experience. And yeah, if anyone ever has any questions about how to deal with insurance companies, please contact me
That
because
sucks, man. It's just like they should pay you what is the value of what you lost, and that's it. Like
no, nope.
you can't use the money to buy Bitcoin. You know, you've got to. That sucks,
Well,
man.
you could buy so the saving grace of that, right, was that I wasn't able to replace a bunch of old Bob Oley Gene Stealer Cult stuff, but I was able to buy the new Gene Stealer Cult stuff and basically subsidize. It wasn't the same cost wise, right? Because 10, you know, second generation metal hybrids are way more money than I think they're calling them acolytes now, right? 10 acolytes in
Yeah,
plastic.
yeah.
You're looking at probably double or triple the amount, probably double the amount of money on an average, right?
I think
But
Andy's getting ideas now to burn his collection and claim on his
It does make
insurance.
you realise how fragile all these things that we put so much time into, how fragile they are. And maybe the Remington approach of create it with love and care, and then send it out somewhere into the world. Like
yeah,
spread your creations around a bit so that no natural disaster could possibly take them all out at the same time. Then
it's true.
maybe he's onto something there. As long as you get them all painted up nicely, get some excellent pictures of them, post them online, bask in the adoration of the social media masses, and then if anything else happens to it, you've still got that.
But on a separate note, right? When all that awesomeness burned up and all that poisonous gas got released into the atmosphere and everyone around the world got to breathe it, have I not spread my hobby around a little more than Rem did?
There's a little bit of your old gene stealer
You're
hybrids in
welcome,
all of
Cancer.
us. Yeah, there's a little bit attached to the inside of each of our lungs, I think it's safe to say.
Exactly. So I'm inside of everybody.
Well, look, I could talk for ages, but we do have an agenda on the show,
Oh yeah, sorry.
and
We-
we'd
yes,
love your
we've
feedback. We'd
Got a
love
very
your feedback,
strict agenda on
obviously.
this show.
So what's up next? What is there something that they've put out? I've not. Do you know? I've been so busy this week.
Well, we're
You'll
going to
have
fly
update
through
me.
all the crazy new stuff that's popped up on the Warhammer community this week, starting with this thing, which I haven't even found it on the Warhammer community, but I saw it all over Twitter and Facebook. This is
Wow.
clearly some kind of Bone Reaper looking fella.
I thought it was like a you know, what's the future skeleton?
Necrons.
Yeah,
I
I
think
thought it
it's looking pretty Necron-y as well.
The
Yeah,
Necron
I think so.
execution.
But I think the shoulder makes it look very Bone Reaper-ish. It's very consistent with the armor that they have.
I love it. It's brilliant. What do you think? What do you think, Kurt?
I mean, I still think like the bone the bone. What are these guys? The Osgiliath.
Ossiarch
Ossiarch.
Bone
Osiarch,
Reapers.
that's what it is. Osiarch Bone Reapers. I didn't buy any of that stuff, but very like mirroring Tomb Kings, and I feel like Ushabti vibe from this, right?
Mhm.
That's just me. I mean, I know that they're not going back to the Tomb Kings, unfortunately. Maybe they will when they bring back the old world, but yeah, he's pretty sick. I mean,
have-
he's got.
You think monstrous infantry, or is it more like a character? What do you think?
I think he's a big dude. He looks big to me, but maybe not.
Who knows how big it is? It's hard to tell, really. It looks like there's a bit of a skull in his forearm there, so if we take that as like a human skull, then he's got to be like twice the height of a person,
Yeah.
surely.
Yeah,
But his
he's
weapon,
pretty-
I've heard a few complaints about this. That there's this hole here in the axe. So presumably, if you're going to hit someone with this side of the axe, you're going to be hitting them right there
Or
where
could
there's a
he-
hole.
Could he be an interrogator? And when he throws the axe down, he perfectly gets your head there and then pins you to the ground and asks you questions.
That would make
And
sense.
after he gets his answers, he slices your head off.
Or it could be used as like a swiping, like hooking weapon with the two ends, maybe.
Yeah.
The more I think of it, as you mentioned it, that is a strange hole in there, isn't it?
That is a weird hole.
What do you do with that?
It's you can see a stylistic reason for it, but functionally, I'm not sure.
Scalp? Is it a scalping weapon? Do you just sort of take the top of the head and save the skull? I don't know.
It's the same way I would look at the bows where they've got like 4 or 5 different strings. You think, does that make it any more functional in the real world? I don't know, but it looks cool, so let's go with it. That's probably the conversation they had. Okay, now then, before we go on to all the other new stuff, it's time. Hold on, prepare yourselves. It's time for Remington's Millions. Remington's Millions. Time for some stonks.
Yes. Kurt, what do you think of this section of the show? It's fairly new, I suppose.
I love it. I love
it, man.
I got into I mean, obviously I do being a boring adult, I have the 401k and all that boring stuff, but Robinhood was introduced to me about 2 years ago, and I started playing with money similar to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I was in a conundrum at the time. I had a bunch of extra money, just kind of trying to decide to put money into my mortgage and pay it down, or invest it actually in Games Workshop stock.
Yeah.
And at the time, because it's like
what year was this? What year was this?
This was 2016, and it was $450 a share US. I don't know what it is.
No, it was it was $45.
Oh wow.
It was $45 back then.
So,
oh my god.
Yeah, and I wanted to drop in a good. I mean, it would have been a life-changing financial decision. Instead, I just put the money into my house to pay my mortgage down. Which is probably a stupid idea. I would have been able to pay my house off and buy my neighbor's house now.
You've got to be safe. You've got to be safe first, though. Can't go throwing money around. Not everyone's living the Remington rockstar lifestyle where you can be like lighting cigars with like banknotes and all that madness.
But you know, had you held it for 4 years, it would have quadrupled in value.
Oh yeah, no, I
But
know.
then, how are you anyone to know? Like, basically,
correct.
Games Workshop stock was really stagnant until Age
For
of
a
Sigmar.
long time.
Yeah, and Age of Sigmar come out, and the new management team and then they just started making profit, and it's just gone crazy. But
But
you
what's going
wouldn't
on here?
know it,
We've got a
right?
bit of a downward
Exactly.
trend brewing here, haven't we? What's this?
Basically every stock has suffered from some very
Yeah.
volatile activity at the minute, and part of it is to do with, well, there's so many reasons. I don't want to take over the show with all this stuff, but you know, there's stimulus in America that's happening, so people is that already priced in? Who knows? Or will it suddenly things go up? But this is England, so we've got a different set of problems. But this all started. Games Workshop hit a high, okay, before they announced their earnings, and they had the best earnings they've ever had. And strangely, this is the weirdness of the stock market. Ever since then, it's been on a downward slide. And a lot of like people, if you do a bit of research, a lot of people think analysts, whatever they're worth anyway, most of them are wrong most of the time. They consider Games Workshop overpriced, and they see it as a lockdown stock, because they think more people are going to. But the truth is, we all know that there's so much more to it than that. So I am bullish long term, but I did sell my shares at its high, and I kept zero point 0.1 share just to keep my just to see what's going on.
Stay in the
So
game, yeah.
you stay in the game, so you can see that dotted line at the bottom. That's where I bought my zero point 0.1 share, and you see I bought it just at the right time because it seemed to bounce off that level, and it's sort of working its way back up. So even though it looks red, if we'd looked at it last week, it went as low as something like £92. So that's not, it's in pence or at the stock price. So that's £10.20 currently.
Even
Sorry,
though
that's £102. Sorry, so that's about what, $140 or something.
even though the Remington stakes are considerably lower than they were when he had slightly more shares a few weeks ago, we're still going to keep our eye on this because very exciting. And maybe we can find out that Remington was a bit premature in getting rid of all these
Probably
shares.
was. I'm still bullish. But you know what? I've got to tell you, last week, where I work at this creative institute for university students that are into the arts. But Games Workshop guy came in and gave a big talk all about a career at Games Workshop.
Oh
It
wow.
was really interesting. And he said, when they get people to work for him, and he's like the head of the design team for the new sculpts. And he said when they employ people, they want to employ people for life.
Yeah.
So that they want people that are so into the hobby, and they've got to be. He listed the qualities they're looking for, and one of the top qualities was humility. And I asked him, I says, "Why is humility so important?" And he says, "Because if people get too attached to their ideas, you know what I mean? It causes a lot of problems." So
Yeah.
they're all there, like learning off each other all the time. It's just a really fantastic ethos that they've
Yeah.
got there. So when people work there, they expect to work there for years and years and years.
There's a
And then
famous phrase in the art world called "kill your baby,"
yeah,
and
he
what
said
that
that.
basically,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and what that basically means is that you can't fall in love with something so much that you'll just sit there and protect it. You need to put it out into the world to be judged
yeah,
and either destroyed or praised, right? Because the only way you're going to get better is if you start to understand the people that you're catering to. So
yeah.
you have to put your child out, your creative child out there for those to either kill it or praise it, right?
Absolutely. He said
So
they've got
humility is
people from all over the world come to work for him. So let's say they've got a talented sculpturer. Is that even a word? From
Sculptor.
Japan. Sculptor, yeah, sorry, sculptor from
words are hard.
Japan. They have to bring over their whole family from Japan and
Sure.
relocate to Nottingham because they don't want to work remotely because they like this buzz of playing
Yeah,
off each other's ideas in the
absolutely.
office, right? So if they think someone's coming from California to work for us, they're going to bring the whole family. They'll help them find somewhere to live. You know what I mean? They'll look. They said we look after our staff really well. I mean, I don't know. There might be some ex-staff members here that might disagree, but this is what the guy said. And
Sure.
he said, because they expect to be there for life, and it's just fascinating. The amount of talent that they've got, and their interview process is grueling. He told us all about it. But you know how someone says, "Oh, do you just go into history and find out?" I don't know. Look at Athenian armor and then take some Athenian or Spartan armor and put that into. And they went, no, we like to be influenced by stuff, but it's got to the point where we have to just create completely new ideas now because
Yeah.
it's kind of all been done before.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So that's what we're
So,
seeing now with new races, right?
so how long did it take for him to like get over his starstruckness when he met you? Because obviously he knew who you were, right? He was just like, "Oh my god, I know who you are," and like he's just the, "Huh?
Like, oh my god, I've seen you on Andy's channel. Can I get his
Yeah.
autograph?
Do you know Andy? Could you get me
Well,
his autograph real quick?"
he was playing it cool, but because he knows
was.
I'm like one of their
Yeah.
biggest investors, right? With
Yeah.
0.1 shares
Well,
currently.
and I figured they want you so bad that they're gonna do the flea market thing, right? Or they're gonna go up and they're gonna be like, "I'm interested, but I'm gonna pretend like I'm not interested, just to kind of because I want him to." I know how they work.
Is that why they never sent us any free stuff over the years? They don't want to appear too keen, do they?
Yeah, because that's pretty much what's gonna happen.
Keeping us at arm's length. Now,
Just
we've got some really exciting news that's totally relevant to everyone on this show right now. Mortal Realms magazine is now available in France. Yay!
Sacre bleu.
It's exciting. Oh, well, that's a nice picture anyway.
I really want that here. There's too many people in America. I think it'd just like suck up all the ink in the world. That got released here.
And next, New Model Monday. So obviously, GW have taken note of the fact that this show is on every Tuesday, so they should really be releasing something a day in advance for us to talk about, so we've got time to digest and analyse and prepare all our content for it to give them the maximum exposure. And here we have got Necromunda, a sneak peek of the Redemptionists. Now,
Wow.
It's very reminiscent of the old school ones, except a bit more elaborate in the headgear department. I mean, look at that. It's a flaming cage atop his head.
Yep. He has full neck swivel action.
Hey, he's got much more neck mobility than, let's say, classic 90s Batman.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, that's got to get hot in there, right? I mean, those bars surrounding his headgear there, they must get like white hots.
Maybe he's got like a little fan in there as well, like on each side of his face that you can't see.
I mean, Kurt, if one of your colleagues turned up to work like that, what would your first instinct be?
S'mores.
What's that?
Do you guys have s'mores?
No, it sounds interesting though.
Oh my god. Graham crackers?
No.
Marshmallow.
Yes.
And a piece of chocolate, and you melt it all together. You don't know what.
So he's like, I do now. So he's like a walking campfire then.
Yes. Yeah, he brings the party. You know.
I think
like brings the party.
The modelling opportunities there. The rest of your Necromunda gang should just have snacks on sticks following him around the whole time.
And I think the book right there is a recipe book of different ways to make s'mores.
You could certainly add that to the cover.
Yeah.
So they've got some.
Would be proud of this guy.
Got some close-ups and some artwork.
Could we convert him to, Sigmar? Do you think? Devoted of Sigmar somehow.
It wouldn't be too far-fetched if you just replace his weapon with something, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, he could be like a flagellant leader, right? You could do a different weapon and
or a fire wizard.
Have a hose, and it's like he's hosing them. He's hosing stuff down with holy water.
Holy water that's being purified in his helmet. That's why it's on fire, because it's heating it up to get it nice and pure.
I like it.
It's like Ghostbusters, except instead of like firing their beams, they're just using holy water on the ghost.
Brilliant.
Sigmar's holy water?
Yeah. Anyway, what's next? Well, lizards. Obviously you saw it in the thumbnail, and I'm afraid the actual Seraphon doesn't have such an action-packed face as we had on the thumbnail. But
what do you think of this artwork, guys? It looks a bit sort of kids' artwork. Am I being out of line there?
I think stylized would be a good way to do. Not necessarily just a polite way to describe it, because you can tell that it's been done by someone who knows what they're doing, but it's intentionally
Yeah.
kind of simplified.
It's like sketch
It's,
in
I mean,
that
I grew
program
up with the
Paint.
John Blanche. Yeah. Right. Okay. We grew up with
Yeah.
the John Blanche vibe, didn't we?
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's to give this game, this range, or this release its own unique look. I think it's pretty cool, actually.
got you.
Yeah, I do too. And I think they've used the same artist for all their box art for the whole series, you know?
Yeah.
Because it has
Yeah.
it definitely has a unique style. Like Ram, you were saying, like, you know, John Blanche definitely influenced a ton of what Warhammer is, but like Underworlds, it seems like every box art is this same artist, and that it's their take on the AOS world, and I dig the change up. You know, it's kind of neat to see a different perspective from an artist's point of view.
Are you going to be getting these? Because you've got lizard men, haven't you?
Yeah. So I mean, I buy everything.
Where do you get your stuff from then? Do you order it, or is there a shop?
Yeah. So my buddy, if anyone lives in the Bay Area, there's a shop called Mythic Games over in Santa Cruz. They also have a shop over in Monterey, California, and he's a really cool dude. He's my dealer. So I buy all my plastic crack from my dealer over in Santa Cruz, and
Nice.
yeah, he's great shop. They're more of an Infinity and Magic the Gathering shop. And actually, the owner plays in Infinity tournaments, and he's been in the Infinity World tournament thing where they all go out to Spain and play at the headquarters. So he's big into Infinity.
Wow.
But yeah, he's a cool dude, and I buy all my stuff from him.
Nice to see some juicy, fresh Seraphon, and maybe once they've dipped their toe into these scaly waters, if it's popular, perhaps we'll see like a full.
I like the skinks.
Reboot of the Seraphon.
The skinks look ever so more. The skinks look ever so more animated now, don't they? Like, yeah, more characterful.
This is
But there's
interesting.
a lizard man there. If you go down,
There's
he looks like he's. What do you call it when you jump out of a plane before you put the parachute on?
this one.
You're just
Free
free
fall?
falling.
Yep.
Not him. Go down one. Yeah, he looks like he's just free falling down. You know, if you took away the base.
Yep.
Very cool though. I'm interested in what's going on here because this looks like a skink with scales. Is that something we normally see? I thought the skinks normally have the kind of the smooth skin.
No, they've got back spines like that, or back whatever.
Just it looks a bit more armored up than the usual skink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's funny because wasn't the Lizardman like the Seraphon, one of the first books that come out, right, for Age of Sigmar?
They were the first book.
It was like one of the first ones that they didn't, and they've read. And I think everyone was thinking, oh, they're going to redo the whole army, and there's going to be loads more models and stuff. But then there really wasn't.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was one of those books where it looks like kind of a lazy attempt to like reinvigorate and boost sales of all the old Lizardmen models that they've got lying around. So why not give them a book so they're like a new faction now? But yeah, they've been a bit neglected. You could say most of the races in Age of Sigmar have been neglected since they were originally launched into the world, apart from Stormcast and Chaos. Everyone else just gets a wave of releases and then they've like not been touched for ages. Think back to when Fire Slayers first came out. Have they had anything since then?
They had the pizza oven.
Yeah, often they'll give you like endless spells or a piece of terrain here and there, but they haven't really fleshed out those armies that were quite early on in Age of Sigmar's life cycle yet.
Yeah. I just want more Beastman stuff. I'm a Beastman player. Like, bring me more Beastman.
Do you like the Herdstone?
I love that model. Yeah.
They've
just got... like, yeah, I'm a big Beastman. I want flocks of crows, more flocks of crows, more beasts, you know?
Got an article on Be'lakor in 40k here, which obviously is very exciting to us, being intimately familiar with that rule set. And next, so It's a segment that gets its own little jingle. Hold on, here we go. Dice Watch. There we go, it's Dice Watch. So as you know, on this show I'm often very critical of GW's dice making decisions, shall we say. And usually the issues are readability of the numbers. The shape of the dice is sometimes a problem. The side that they choose to put the symbols on, whether it's on the 6 or the 1 or the 6 and the 1 in some cases, whether they're weirdly textured. In this case, though, these Daughters of Cain dice, I don't see too many issues. Nice, clear blobs in that. It's a nice contrast between the black and the red. I don't think it's going to be obscured too much. There's not any kind of weird grainy texture going on. You can see clearly what each side is, and then the 6 is clearly the only one with a symbol, and it's quite distinct looking. It doesn't just look like a collection of blobs, so you can't really mistake it from the other sides easily. So I'm going to give this set of dice, the first edition of Dice Watch, it's going to get a thumbs up. What do you guys think?
I'm not a fan of the monocolor. Oh, go ahead, Rem.
Oh, it's a bit orangey red, isn't it? Right. So maybe it's not so much blood red, but I actually bought the first round of Daughters of Cain dice. I've not opened them yet, so yeah, they're all right. Yeah, they're cool. Is there a big market for dice?
I think there is, you know. All these things do seem to sell out really fast. And there are a lot of people, not even necessarily in the wargaming hobby directly, or people who are just like on the outskirts of the hobby, but still have big dice collections from board gaming and such. And there are people that just collect dice because they're so into them. Now, I did give them a thumbs up, but that's like the official Dice Watch, do these serve their purpose kind of review.
Okay.
As far as
That's
how
fair.
they look aesthetically, are they cool? Then they're not that cool. I wouldn't want to put them on my shelf. I'd use them in a game, but I wouldn't just leave them out to admire. They're not that exciting.
Would you spend 20 pounds on them?
I probably wouldn't spend £20 on them.
Yeah, I'd spend 20 pounds on squig dice. Because squig dice are amazing.
Squig dice are cool, but I think they do have some other issues, though.
Oh, there's a lot of issues with squig dice for sure, but I play by the rule of cool all the time.
Nice.
Like, I'm what is it? Form over function? Something
Feng
like
Shui.
that? Yeah, I'm totally just want it to look cool. I don't care if it's just horrible to understand, as long as it looks cool. But I get it. Like, those are clear.
We've got some other new releases here that we've already seen before, but they're actually available to order now. So we've got all the Slanesh stuff here. Daughters of Cain Endless Spells there. The Slangor Fiend Bloods, Remington's favourite. The Beastmen with crab claws and high heels. Oh. What's going on here? It looks like we're about to be shown. There we go, look at that. Juicy goodness. Remington is jealous. You can see the envy pouring off him there.
Dude, these guys are so dope. Yeah. They're
What do you like about them?
sexy goat cow things. Like, how could you not like sexy goat cow things?
And this is like a sneak preview of your kind of video content now for people that haven't seen your channel before. Looking at sprues, looking at new stuff, buying all of it, whipping it out on the table and saying, hey world, come and look at this.
Yep. Such a beautiful, I don't know. These Slangor, and I don't care that the rules apparently suck, because that's not why I buy models. I buy models because they're amazing. These models are amazing.
So you're not a Beastman purist. You'll take Slaneshi Beastman, you'll take Khorne Beastman.
Well, I think that is a Beastman purist, right? Like, so Beastmen by nature just don't know what they're doing. They're just savage. So those that fall to Slanesh are just following their savagery and being like, hey, yeah, I'll go that way. I'll go this way. You know, they're like AM FM. They just do everything.
If you think back to those old classic Beastmen, they weren't particularly uniform to begin with. They were kind of all over the place. So maybe they're just going back to their roots by embracing all this weirdness from all the different sides of chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt, I don't know if you saw that episode, but a couple of weeks back we looked at some of the very first Beastmen ever released in the 1980s with the,
Oh, I
the
watch
crazy
them all and I loop them while I sleep.
was.
Yeah, and the ostrich beast man that
Yes.
Annie really loves. Yeah, I don't think I have that one though. I have to go through all my stuff and see. But that
That'd
was
be
a new
cool,
one for
man.
me.
I mean, look, do you have like an Instagram account where you post up your trophies? Do you have? Are you?
I stay off the internet in general. So in 2002, MySpace, I got in a lot of trouble with girls,
Oh, God.
and
God.
Yeah, me too.
yeah, and that was like
It was amazing
that's
though.
yes,
For
it
a little
was.
while.
And that told me I need to stay off social media. And then when social media kind of got big, I'm like, no, I'm gonna still stay off it. And a buddy of mine who, do you guys know the Rolling Bad podcast? You heard of that
No.
podcast here in America? And one of the guys I know really well, the other I know them both, but one of them I know really well, and they were talking about like social media and like you could have a page for yourself as who you are, and then also have a page for just hobby. So
Yeah.
all that other stuff doesn't infiltrate into your social media.
Yeah.
And I'm really kind of considering doing like a Twitter and a Facebook and a whatever else there is out there. Instagram.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Remington Steel on Facebook and Remington Steel
Well,
on Instagram.
you've taken the first step by joining the Andy and Rem Show Discord service. You could actually dip your toes into these scary internet waters by posting pictures of all your stuff in there.
I could do that. I could do
But,
that.
you know,
totally.
I totally get where you're coming from, because back in the MySpace days, it was glorious for a while. I mean, you really
Yes.
had this personalized page that was like your own sort of bare room. It was your fantasy room, right?
Yeah,
And
it
you
was your
just,
pitch.
it
It was
was
your pitch
beautiful,
to
man.
like the lady folk or to whatever
Yeah.
you wanted it to be.
And then Facebook came, and then it became more family and, you know, people that you know. And it was
Yep.
just like, oh no.
Yeah, it piggybacked on the whole what's that high school one where you have all your school people, your friends throughout the years?
Friends reunite.
Yeah. Did he break up on me, or is my internet going to shit?
No, it's just the Remington. Occasionally, his internet decides that it's not going to cooperate for a minute.
Got it. He's jumping around. There he is. Now he's back.
Oh,
Well,
God,
while he's jumping around, we're going to move on and look at some of the new
mate.
stuff that has
Yeah,
prices attached
was
to
you
it
talking
now.
about Friends Reunited?
No. It was classmates.com. You guys have that? Yeah. So
No.
like it was just kind of like you said, more friends and family and yeah, but anyway.
Anyway, we've been looking recently at mantic rats, and we're even going to have a special show on rats at some point in the future as well, because there's so many of them out there now. So, we've got prices attached to them now. So, Ratkin Army, $59.99. Sounds pretty reasonable to me for all that rat action.
Yeah.
Then, there's some other new stuff we haven't seen before here as well, so we're looking at some of this for the first time. So, Claw Shots Troop, $19.99. So, like your rat snipers there.
For $5. Wow.
Yeah, so for all your Kings of War rat-based goodness. Now this is a spicy new thing. Ratkin Death Engine.
Nice.
Which it looks like there's a couple of rats at the top kind of driving it. There's a face down there, so I don't know if there's like a creature inside it. Maybe pedaling to run this thing. And then this huge bit of blood-soaked, grindy machinery up there. It looks pretty spicy.
You guys seen that 80s horror movie called Death Machine?
No.
No. If you get a chance, check out Death Machine. It's an 80s horror movie. It's a B film.
Is
flick,
this
but it's
reminiscent?
It's reminiscent of Death Machine, that little face inside the treads.
If it's got the word B in it, Andy will be all over it, man. Because
it's a terrible film, then I'm going to look for it.
He's definitely a B-lister.
It's epic. Can I step out for a hot second?
You sure can.
I'll be right back.
We're just going to look at some more rats. So we've got Ratkin Hackpaws troop, so you kind of rat cavalry there. Ratkin Master Scurrier. Ratkin Mega Army for $99.99, but you get quite a lot of stuff in there. You also get these big 3 wheelie bad boys at the back there. And then, obviously, the exciting stuff, the juicy monsters. Mutant Rat Fiend.
Wow.
So these are pretty big as well. So $34.99 for this one. And these will be presumably big chunks of resin, these giant monsters.
That one looks amazing. Is that a giant maw for a gut?
It does look like it's got a huge mouth on it. And then the demon spawn, this giant winged, four-armed rat demon creature, $34.99. So definitely a lower price point than, it's probably comparable in size to something like Be'lakor GW, which presumably is going to be about 3 times the price of this.
Wow.
But very, very cool. And I think it does Mantic a lot of favours as well, the fact that they have top-notch artists now painting their miniatures for the website.
So what do you think about Ratman there, Andy? Do you think you'll ever be a collector of these? It's pretty cool miniatures. Have they got the jump on Games Workshop there with bringing out the new Skaven-y type things?
I think they definitely have. And not only that, but a few years ago they also came out with their space rats as well, which is something GW have never really done.
Yeah.
So as far as rats, Mantic are definitely leading the pack at the moment.
I like what you did there.
Shredder War Engine, all this juicy stuff, and all the your basic regiments. And now that our guest has returned, let's have a quick look at the monsters again. So the Mutant Rat Fiend there.
Check that out, Kurt. Check it out, man.
Yeah. Isn't that like a mother rat or something? Or is that... Oh, that's a mutant rat.
Yeah, there's something else with a quite similar pose, I think. But then there's this one as well, the Demon Spawn, which is very nice.
Yeah.
Have you got Ratmen? Have you got Ratmen Skaven?
I have a ton of Skaven. I lost all my Skaven in a fire, but I bought all my Skaven back.
Was it a warp fire?
Yeah. Yep, that was but I love the Skaven. Love them.
At some point in the near future we're going to have another full-on rat special as well, which you'll learn more about in the coming weeks. But here we've got the Rumour Engine, which is GW's obvious rip-off of What the Hell Is That? And people are speculating that this could be Paradron Overlords, because they're due maybe terrain piece, if not endless spells. So maybe like a bit of a sky port, people are speculating. But whatever however exciting the speculation is, the reality is usually a couple of notches below it in terms of juiciness, unfortunately. What do we think this is?
I thought it was something. So one of the first set of Necromunda that came out, the reboot of Necromunda, that was a board game. The doors had, one of the doors had like the same kind of sliding things with the same kind of braces or brackets, and then the door handle is very similar. They were further apart, but it looks very, I'm guessing that's like maybe the next like kill team, or I'm thinking it's a 40k thing. Unfortunately, I don't want it to be a 40k thing.
No one ever wants it to be a 40k thing, man.
Oh well.
True.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. Next week's Andy and Rem show, we're actually going to be talking about this. And ignore the bottom half of the screen there, because our show is kind of spilling into this, so you don't want to look at it until later. But next week we're going to be talking to the master of Warplock Miniatures / Arc World, this new Kickstarter, so you can look forward to that.
That guy's cool, man. I've been following his stuff for 4 or 5 years, and he is like a workaholic. He just pumps out miniatures.
And speaking of miniatures created by man himself, this is the Arc World Fire Dragon, which I have assembled. Because it's a big chunk of resin, all I need to do now is just fill in any little gaps in there, and then I'm going to start painting it. So that's going to be exciting.
That looks amazing, Andy. Let's see it again.
Let's have a nice close-up of its face there, so you can see.
That could also be a Dread Sauron, couldn't it? A Dread...
Yeah, Saurian.
Yeah.
Lots of scaly goodness going on here. All those scales.
That's mental. What army would that fit in with, Andy?
Well, I'm not planning to actually fit it in with any army at the moment. I'm just going to put it on the base that it came with, and we'll just see what happens. If I ever start playing Arc World, then I'm sure I can use it in there.
Yeah, if not, it's definitely like a mantelpiece sort of figure, isn't it? That is.
It's definitely, when I was deciding what to buy when I went for this in the end, I was comparing it to things like the Magma Droth from GW, and it's very similar price point. But I thought, you know what, this is a bit more characterful.
Yeah.
So this is what I went
Speaking
for.
of characterful, who painted that? Like these glorious halflings.
Yes, these rather lovely halflings with trees on their shields. Are they painted on the shields?
No, they're not. They're the old Wood Elf transfers.
You know what, I was
These
going to say I bet they're not painted because they're all perfectly identical.
They are Marauder miniatures halflings from the mid 80s, I want to say, maybe 87. Might be wrong about that, but yeah, they're the sort of Renaissance style halflings there. And on the right, you can see my regiment of halfling chefs, mainly made up of the halfling hot pot crew converted. And you see some Battleforge miniatures. There's a Battleforge ogre female chef at the end there. And in the foreground, you see a Battleforge miniatures tree man. And I painted that tree man in literally 55 minutes because that's the only time I had. And it
Did you
came out
use
beautiful.
Remington dusting on it?
I used dusting. I pulled out all the tricks, man. It was an absolute pleasure to paint. And yeah, I didn't wash the miniature either because it was resin. I just painted straight on, man.
That's
Well,
straight out of my playbook there. I very rarely wash resin miniatures, which hasn't caught me out yet and destroyed any paint jobs, but you never know, it could happen one day. I actually did wash this dragon though, because definitely don't want the paint to start flaking off this with all that lovely texture going on.
nice. What do you think there? I'd love to get your feedback there, Kurt.
Oh, I love your stuff. I'm actually kind of pissed at you
Why?
because I'm like, why didn't he offer it to all of us who are huge fans of Remington and his godliness before he put it on eBay to be sold? Like, I want some Remington originals, you know?
Well, this
Like
one,
it's
this not been sold. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I went through a phase where I just was so poor that I had to sell stuff to get back on my feet. And
I thought it was to buy Games Workshop shares.
well, no, what happened was I sold a bunch of stuff, and then I found myself I'd gone the other way, and I'd made much more than I needed. So it was just like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to buy some trainers? Do I want to buy some more models? Well, no, why don't I just put it in a good store of value? And they ended up doubling my money putting it
Yep.
in there. And it's like
Yep.
now I've got no need to sell stuff. So it's like I'm in a
Yep.
good position, man. So I don't think I'm not going to sell any more stuff for a while. So, but it was healthy. It was a purify. Maybe it was like the purifying fire. You know, starting again sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah. Mine wasn't so purifying. Mine was more painful. But I get what you're saying. Because yours was voluntary and mine was just, you have to deal with this. But yeah, no, I get it. I just want
Yeah.
some Remington because no, I really like your style and I like your the way you base your models to like coincide with the miniatures that are living in that world, so to speak. I just like you have a very unique and very I don't know. There's just something about the way you paint. I totally dig it. So
Thank you, man. Anyone joining the show now will think you're talking about this monstrosity in front of us, and you're not. You're talking about, you know, my wonderful paint jobs. But now we come to Andy's.
Yes, so this was originally, it started life as the Mantic Giant. And the Mantic Giant, the kit, is also part of what's known as the Shadow Hulk for the Night Stalkers, where it's the
yeah,
giants, but they give you like a big, like shark's head and some weird arms to put on it. But I thought, you know what, that's not weird enough for my Night Stalkers. So I've got to weird it up a bit. So you can see the full shots of the body here. There's the front, and there's the back. And we're going to get some close-ups in a second. But it's so tall that these are the only shots where you'll be able to see the whole thing in one go.
that's a gnarly kit.
From
I've seen that.
Like
The
a
giant
face
in real
coming
life.
out of his shoulder blade.
Yes, you'll see all those pictures in a moment when I bring up this lovely slideshow I've got prepared here. Let me just get this rolling.
It's like that particular purple and that particular green that you've used are very much like Masters of the Universe, He-Man kind of
Yes.
colours.
Okay, so you can see here, its hand is turning into a dragon's head with some kind of hideous, like centipede-like creature coming out, and of course arms popping out of it as well, because it's like once you start trying to make something really weird, you just keep adding layers of weirdness to it. It's like, okay, I've got a dragon's head on it at the end of there. How about if that has arms? How about if there's a thing coming out of his mouth? How about if one of the horns is turning into a tentacle? You just keep adding weirdness on top of weirdness.
It's like a really good acid trip right there.
Definitely, man.
And
I mean,
this is his knee here, and this is the knee that he calls Matt Damon for obvious reasons.
It looks like Matt Damon,
Yes, I did notice
Matt
that.
Damon!
the greatest actor in the world.
This is a press mold of one of the mantic giant heads, which are then made green stuff because that's the only way you can get it like flexible enough to kind of wrap it round a part of the body. And then because it was kind of squished up, it did end up looking like Matt Damon up quite a bit.
I love that. Andy, I wasn't convinced, man, but you've totally turned it around now.
Then its toe, of course, has got this hideous growth. Now, a lot of these parts are from Mantic Night Stalker kits. So this is from the Night Stalker Scarecrows. It's one of the heads, I think. And that's just sitting nicely on top of the foot.
Is that a separate dice roll attack for the foot?
That would be nice, but apparently that's not in the rules. And
That's like a weird hammer toe.
the basing, all the basing stuff I'm using on this army is Bad Squiddo Scenics. So there is some livestock remains and the Bugs basing kit being used there. And then on the other leg, got a hand poking out. One of the few GW bits, that hand actually, that are on this model. And
From Flesh Eater Quartz, right?
yes, I believe it is from the
Whatever the big guys are called.
yeah, the Crypt Horrors.
Or Crypt Horrors.
Crypt Horrors, yeah, because you get a lot of spare arms and bits in that kit, so that's where that hand is from, I think.
What's
And
the little gremlin taking a cheeky little dump there?
that is from a Mantic kit as well. I can't even remember which one that's from now.
It's like he's just
adorable.
turned round and he realizes you've just seen him doing that.
Or he's
like,
just
what?
mooning the enemy.
Yeah.
Then on the other knee, we've got the other end of that centipede thing that's coming out the dragon's mouth. So it's quite a long thing going all the way through the body. So
the head of that centipede. Remember Wrath of Khan
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
when he sticks the little earwig?
Oh, God.
Totally looks like the earwig, but that's like the daddy version of the Wrath of Khan earwig.
Then
Yeah.
this shot of the body here, you can see some of the faces on there. Now, a lot of these are just little molds taken of faces from either the Night Stalker's range, or in the case of that one kind of in the middle there, that's from a Relics Orknar model.
Andy, can I ask, you know the dark green slime?
Yes.
What is that?
That is, I can show you the pot right here. It is Tumia Clear Green.
And you paint that on top, or
I've painted that after the matte varnish, so it has a nice shine to it.
That Tamiya paint smells so good. You guys smell it?
It does smell very nice. And this might be my favourite bit here, this kind of face, like just chilling, like arms folded on the back, just hanging out there. That's another Relics Orknar face there. And the one on the shoulder is the other giant head from this giant kit. But that one's, of course, like seeping green ooze from every orifice. And there's a better look at that one.
Would you consider this finished yet? Are you done with this now?
Yes. There's some more green ooze on like pustules all over it.
What do you even call this kind of giant? What is it?
This is a Shadow Hulk. Another face there. Maybe I could have played What the Hell Is That with this, and it would have taken all year to finish it. Because all the bits are from something. That is actually a face from a Vargeist, I think. That little face there. And that tentacle is another GW bit, actually.
It looks like a Nurgle Beast of Nurgle bit, the old metal ones.
Yeah. Andy, the chat is going crazy right now. It's going absolutely mental.
Boglin! Dude,
people
Gibson
are bugging
knows
out over this.
Boglins!
Yeah, this is truly a work of art, says Veliotron. I think he must have been talking about my halflings. So
Definitely
that's
not.
probably an older comment. And Stu Gibson says he looks like a boglin, right? And then our good friend Sida Kurukan says, no wonder it's taken so long to paint. I mean, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
these
it's pretty rad.
tentacles are from the Mantic Hellboy range. And it's just like tentacle monster, like reaching up through some wooden floorboards. So just lots of tentacles. And then they had to be obviously skillfully crafted in there. So there's some green stuff. Like, I don't know if you can tell where the tentacle ends and the green stuff begins. You probably can if you look closely. But you have to try and blend it in somehow. But there we go. That's the end of that. So it took... I wasn't painting it the whole time, obviously, but it was sitting there from when it was first like sprayed in purple to when I finished painting it was about a year. So I finally got round to it in the last couple of weeks. I said, you know what, let's finish this. I want to get this Night Stalker army rolling. So
I mean, Andy, I
pretty
think,
pleased.
you know, when I look at, you've got such stark contrasts in the paint job. I mean, I would have liked to have seen the purple sort of blending into the green somehow. But then when I look at the overall miniature, I think it reminds me of sort of like Ray Harryhausen vibe, you know, the very famous animator from those amazing films like Jason and the Argonauts, you know.
Yeah, it's funny you should say blending the purple in, because I was actually messing with blending the purple into the dragon's head, like using various washes to try and get it to like a gradient. But in the end, I didn't think it looked that great, so I decided to go with what I've done here, which is like veins of the purple are like leaching into this hideous mutation.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone joining the show late, what's the overall miniature look like? Can we just see it panned
Yep,
out?
I'll
now?
get rid of this slideshow again, and there's the full shot of it. 8.5 inches tall from the toe to the tip of the tentacle.
That's crazy.
And now I just have to make an army to go with it, because I've just been making giant monsters for this army, which is in no way table legal at the moment.
It's like my face. That's 8.5 right there.
And I'm looking at it on the shelf right now, and it is a beast, all right.
Damn.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I enjoyed too when you would do those live chats and you just kind of were painting and talking about stuff. Those were fun to sit in on. It's neat to see them all done.
That is a thing that I may get back to at some point. It's finding the right time slot for those kind of like, talky, painty episodes. Because there's some time of day where you'll just sit there, start painting, and there'll be like 3 people in the chat who aren't saying much. And it's like, this doesn't really need to be online. It's probably just making the channel look bad in the end, ending with like 12 views.
I think a lot of people...
Is that negative? Does that hurt channels when you don't have a lot of views?
It can do. I don't know if it would have much effect for channels of like our size. Like in
we
YouTube
know all
terms,
about that, man.
Yeah, in YouTube terms, we're all like small fish. But for big channels, I know if they put up content that performs way, way worse than their usual stuff, it does impact their algorithm and all that stuff. But just in general, when someone's looking through your channel at all the video views and they see one that's got, well, there's 1,000 views, 500, and there's like 6 views, I think it just makes the channel look bad, I think.
Wow.
So got to make sure that content is top notch.
But you know,
attracts eyeballs.
There are people out there who like watching paint dry. You know?
There are lots of them.
Well,
if you see the amount,
people watch paint dry, because I really like to listen to Annie just kind of sitting there talking about stuff. And when I do hobby stuff, like I like to just put his channel on and hit play all, and it just starts going through. And you know, I mean, there's definitely something about your voice that's just so soothing.
It's in nice contrast to all the like 10,000 ads you get per video as well.
Yeah, that's true. I do enjoy the ads.
I'm sure you click on them all and like buy all the products in them, which probably generates extra YouTube income. I don't know.
I think Andy is the Vincent Price of Warhammer, isn't he? You know, in Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, you know, the voice, Vincent Price, he comes in.
Gotcha. I can see that.
Andy is like Vincent Price reincarnated, isn't it, Andy? I think we're all waiting for the audiobook. Right.
I should release an audiobook at some point, just to see if I'll actually go for it.
The second he said that about Vincent Price, I thought about um oh, I just had it. Thames animation cartoon with the duck.
Count
Count
Duckula.
Duckula. And I was like, yeah, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want you getting in trouble or anybody getting in trouble, but I love it, Andy.
Count Duckula is top notch quality
Yeah,
entertainment.
Count,
And for anyone who's not a fan,
absolutely.
you should know that's where I've shamelessly stolen my outro freeze from.
Okay, so I didn't want to say it, but like, yeah, like when the first time you said that, I was like, dude, this guy is boss. And yeah, I just surprised no one ever said anything about it. And I was just like, yep,
Not very often.
watch it as a kid all the time.
So just a quick one, Kurt. Before we
Sir.
went live, before we went live on air, you mentioned that you'd been to Europe, you'd travelled to, you'd been to York, you'd been to Nottingham. Were
Yep.
you able to go to Warhammer World?
I did go to Warhammer World. I went to Warhammer World for one day. I went to yeah, so basically we flew into London. My well now ex-girlfriend, but my girlfriend at the time, like she had been to London a few times and I didn't really have I mean, I grew up here in the Bay Area by San Francisco and Oakland and like to me cities are kind of just cities. So I wanted to get out of London. I wanted to see a couple things in London, but I needed to get out of there because I wanted to see the country as a whole. And so I convinced her to get out of London. So we flew in, hung out in London for the day, spent the night. Next day we went and got on the train, flew up to York. Spent 3 days in York, walking around the castle perimeter, checking out the York Minster, going to a place called the House of Trembling Madness, which is a bar that has oh my god, the bottom story has a bunch of beer, and then the top story is just your typical like European tavern back in the day kind of thing. And just got smashed. And went to a Games Workshop there. And then
What were you
we rented a
drinking?
car. What's up?
What were you drinking?
Oh, I drink everything.
Okay.
I just yeah. I'm not a big hard alcohol fan anymore. I'm more of a beer and wine guy.
At the
I'm a
same
huge
time,
no, not really. I try not to do beer and wine, but I try to like what am I going to do for the night and I'll stick to either beer or wine, but beer and wine are my two go-throughs. I like to stay hydrated while I'm drinking. For hard alcohol, you know, you're not really hydrating, you're drinking pure alcohol. So, cuz beer's watered down and wine's got grape juice in it.
Kurt, I don't know, when you went to Nottingham, did you visit the oldest pub in the world, which is called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem?
No.
It's just down the road from Games Workshop. Well, kind of.
Really?
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
remember
think you'd
crossing
like that.
train tracks and parking like it was a super industrial area and parking across the street and like seeing the Age of Sigmar statue and taking pictures, and then we did the tour inside. And they were actually doing some kind of event where there was no gaming going on. They had like tables with white cloth because that night they were going to host like some kind of thing where like the CEO was going to talk in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to get the full experience of
They
Warhammer
might have
World.
been getting it ready for the Investors Day. I
It
think
might
they
have
were
been.
getting it
It was
ready for me coming over.
yeah. I think it might have been like the first RemCon, but the down low one. It was
Yeah.
the non-announced RemCon.
Yeah.
And no, I could see that for sure. And then I went to Bugman's Bar, did the whole walk through the museum. I mean, my girlfriend at the time, she was just like went in and went out, and I was sitting there just nerding it up, taking pictures of everything.
That's so you don't need that, do you? When you go on pilgrimage to somewhere like Games Workshop, Warhammer World, you don't need that your partner just to do. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And you give
yeah.
you that
No,
pressure on
she should.
rushing it.
I should have left her in London, and
Yeah.
I should have rented the car there and drove to Nottingham.
Yeah.
And then that's how I should have probably done that, but I didn't.
but
Yeah.
when the world isn't such a deadly, dangerous place, and you next get back over to Nottingham, we'll all have to go round Warhammer World and the exhibition and bask in all that wonderful miniature glory.
And I'm currently girlfriendless too, so.
There you go,
But yeah,
man.
we went to Brighton Beach,
Nice.
the Cotswolds, Stonehenge. We kind of like just sort of
Wow.
cut down through the. I had my first pickle and cheese sandwich, which was like
Nice.
phenomenal. We stayed in this weird little town on our way to Stonehenge, and it was awesome. There were like sheep outside of my door. It was the coolest thing ever. And like
So
you guys, oh, go ahead.
you basically did a triangle around England, didn't you? You know, London,
Yeah, we went
York, and
London,
then
and then we
Glastonbury.
went to York, cruised kind of down to Nottingham, cruised down to the ocean, and then we did 2 nights in Rye. And Rye is amazing also. That was fun town. Just I mean it's like so I like old stuff. Like old stuff in the United States is like 200-300 years old, right? No, 200 years old. It's like not old. Your
Yeah,
guys' stuff is like archaically old. And it's like to just be in places like that, knowing that like I mean
it has a smell, doesn't it? It has a very like damp smell, old stuff.
yeah, and just like the energy. Like I don't want to get all hippie about it, but like the energy of those cities are just so strong and like absolutely. So
Nice.
yeah.
So if you came, well, when you come to RemCon, obviously you're not going to have time to go to Andy Palooza because obviously RemCon is number one. Which army are you going to take? You can only take one army
Beastman.
out of your
It's
Beastmen.
not even a question. Beastman.
Nice. Nice.
100%.
Slangor.
Well, all gore, right?
Al
It's not
Gore.
a party unless all gods get to party. You know?
As we know, Al Gore is the leader of the Beastmen.
Yeah. It's all about all gore.
Now, I feel like we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to, at the very least, your House Full of Shame. But I'm sure we'll get you back on the show at some point and we can delve further into the dark, neglected corners of your home and just probe around there and look at some of the juicy goodness.
Yes.
But
Quite.
before we go, we've got time to discuss what the hell is that little bit. So last week's is still open because nobody has got it yet. No one has identified the eyeball in last week's what the hell is that. So first one to get that, the international internet prestige you can earn from correctly guessing the identity of that eyeball, off the charts, I would say. But we've still got tonight's coming up, which is going to close the show. So before we do that, got to thank Mr. Remington, as always, for not tinkering with his blinds live on air for a change.
Do you know what? It's gone so fast. I can't believe we started early tonight, but we'd love to have you back anytime, man. You know, when you're
Oh,
not
I would love to come back.
when you're not saving the world and you've got an hour spare, just let us know, and you're always welcome, man.
Don't forget, everybody, we've got a link in the description to the DeadGamer YouTube channel that you should be checking out for juicy looks at all pretty much anything that GW releases. It's purchased, live, enthusiastically unboxed within 2 minutes of release, usually. So you can get all that juicy content right there. And also, let's have a look at the episode thumbnail, because if I'm going to work so hard on Photoshop, we're going to have an extended look at it. You have to admit that is some glorious work.
Yeah,
I mean,
that thing excites me.
The upgrades to the show, Andy, you've just done a glorious job. All the little sound clips and the pictures, it's wicked. It's just like a next level to the other shows out there, really, isn't it? You know?
It sure is, and that wouldn't be possible without the lovely patrons, some of which have earned a personalised thanks at the end of the episode. So, let's give a special thanks to the following people. Thank you to Cedar, Roshi, Kim, John, Liam, Rick, Barbara and Guy. All of you top-notch supporters of this channel. You keep us afloat so that we can continue to act as both the lighthouse and the lifeboat to all the stranded wargaming souls out there in the turbulent waters during these tough, tough times. And with that,
Andy, may I add, this show is intergenerational. It's not just like old folk like you and I. Well, we're not that old, but we've got younger folk that watch this show. You know, can I give a big shout out to Ollie and Elise? Hope you're having a good time and you're both well. Thanks for tuning in.
indeed, some of our younger viewers there. Got to keep the hobby community kind of recycling over time. As all the old people move away from this and move into 6mm, Napoleonics miniatures, we've got to keep the youngsters coming through with content like this to get them into the hobby, to get that next generation well and truly ready to carry the hobby torch. into the next decades.
And can I just say, we're only, if things go to plan in this country, we're only a couple of months away from being released from this terrible lockdown we've been, suffering from. I mean, wherever you guys live, maybe it's not as strict, or maybe it's more strict, but we currently can't really meet up and do any games. But we're hoping the floodgates will open and RemCon will rear its head in the Premier League of tabletop wargaming very soon.
Let's hope so. So, Mr. Remington, would you like to say goodnight to the audience?
Good night to the audience.
And Mr. The DeadGamer, would you like to say goodnight to the audience?
I love you all, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight. This has been a 5+ year goal of mine, and I've checked that box, and I want to continue to check that box because this has been a phenomenal time.
We'll definitely have to have you on again. And all that remains to be said now is good night out there. Whatever.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigma Speed or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.
What the hell is that, everybody? Don't forget to guess in the comments. What the hell is that?